Tuning in to the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing after-shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, AfterBuzzers, and welcome to Homeland. Episode 7, episode called Redux. I want somebody to call in and actually break this word down for us. We were actually having this Redux debate, and I know it has obviously something to do with what's going on with Carrie and her state, her changing status.
It's REDUX?
Yeah. Her mental capacities.
I think it's that she's going back to her original state, which is that she's a schizophrenic.
Yeah.
Is she schizophrenic?
No, she's bipolar.
She's schizophrenic.
But she's having a schizophrenic episode.
Well, the medicine that she's taking...
we got into a lot of trouble. We got a lot of trouble last season defining her. Getting into that. So I just want to make sure we don't.
I think that's what it is. It's messing with her condition, obviously.
I think it's Redux because you saw her slowly move backwards. She regressed, but the medical term for doing that in a state that relates to a sickness as Redux.
So, 424-253-0504.
Call us!
Call us. Give us your 2 cents on what it is. I'm your host, Thaddeus Massey. Joining me today is...
Nando Velasquez. How you doing, everybody?
Hey, guys. I'm Lexie Hammesfahr.
Hey, guys. I'm Danny Hoyt.
What are you going to say, Lexie?
Okay, real quick, just going back to it. My dad did, because he's a physician, he did clarify.
We know your dad's a physician,
Okay,
Lexie.
I just feel like...
Have him break it down for us. We want him to actually come in on this show and sit on this
I can
couch.
have him call in.
Really? You should.
Well, not tonight, because he's asleep, but...
He's on the East Coast. He's on the East Coast, probably.
He's got work the next morning. He's in Atlanta.
3-hour
time change.
ATO.
Yeah, anyways, he said that clozapine, which is one of the drugs Carrie takes, is for schizophrenia. That's what it treats.
Okay, but is that one of the drugs that was prescribed to her?
Yes.
Because we don't know what Tasneem has switched the medicine out with.
No, but Tasneem points out when Dennis last week, when he handed her the picture, she was like, "Oh, that's clozapine."
I know she's a Tasneem.
He mentions.
Devil.
Well, he mentions the bipolar. He mentioned the bipolar in the clips for this week. From last week, they showed the scene when he was talking to Tasneem, and they figured out she was bipolar.
Right.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
If I had to guess,
she can have more than one condition.
If I had to guess, I think she's a nice little cocktail of bipolar, manic depressive, and obsessive compulsive.
Well, I will guarantee
Don't be surprised
you.
if we get some people saying that it was a nice little cocktail.
Well, I will guarantee you that there are people who are listening to this who will actually respond on YouTube and tell us exactly what those things are for, because some people have experience with that.
Here's why I say this, because I have a very good friend who has all three. He was a friend of mine in college, and so I spent a lot of time helping him through this. And when he would not take his pills, he would deal with similar issues, act similar ways. Didn't get as crazy as that. He didn't pull out fake guns, but he got to the point where dark baggy eyes, little noises drove him crazy. I had to sleep in different places outside of the normal room that we shared because he couldn't handle any noise that wasn't his own making.
Interesting.
So I say that to say it reminds me of that.
Yeah, some of the symptoms or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. According to Wikipedia, redux is an adjective meaning brought back or resurgent. It may also refer to Redux, a 2-part episode of The X-Files, Redux, an aircraft adhesive, Redux, an album by Adam Ant.
What if that's what they put inside of her? They put an aircraft adhesive inside
or a weight loss drug withdrawn in 1997.
Oh, that could make you go nuts.
Yeah, it's been on the shelf for a long time.
So there's a couple others there, but those are the big ones. So there we go. So
all right.
Redux. We've given you guys all a lesson on Redux.
I think it was brought back a resurgent.
Let's move. Yeah, I think so too.
Because
of her condition. Yeah.
So Lockhart is in town. He's flown in to try to get a handle on the situation, as he always does, and try to like drop the hammer on everything.
He rolls deep. By
He
the way.
is
5 Range Rovers
He's
deep.
a funny guy.
Yeah.
Well, he's in charge, but man, he just comes up. You know, it's like the big boss coming to mess everything up. It's
I don't know how I
obvious.
feel about him yet. By the way,
We never know how we
I
feel
think he's
about
shady.
him.
I'm always on the fence about him.
I don't think he's shady. I just think that because he has so much power. Really, it's like whatever he says goes kind of thing.
He's an old school politician who thinks he knows everything.
He's old school. It's like he's not open to suggestions or whatever.
Well, I understand that, but at the same time, I think the ambassador had a very good point that he doesn't know the relationships that are formed over there when he comes in, and so it may be one thing for him to address something very bluntly when they were in that meeting originally, but he doesn't know what relationships he might be destroying in there, like what she was pointing out.
But I also think that there's two sides to this thing, because for him to have to come there, the fact that he has to come there, Saul's been abducted, and Carrie obviously doesn't seem to have a hold on the situation, which means the rest of the operation is not under control. He might feel like that breath of fresh air and coming in and saying, look, obviously, if this is how you guys have been doing things, this wasn't working. Well, let me come in here and shake things up so I can really see what's going on and how it's going on.
Well, there's a lot there. There's a lot there in the scene when we first see Lockhart, which you may not be aware of. It's Lockhart comes in. He comes in with the ambassador, and he sees John Redmond and Peter Quinn together, and he pretty much goes after both of them to see what side of the whole debate they were on. I think this is a really big debate for him too, because don't forget
his people.
Saul. Well, don't forget also Saul is the person who really gave him a lot of trouble last season, and they didn't really get along. Politically speaking, they might be on good terms now because they both got more or less what they want, or at least Lockhart did. But it's kind of ironic that he's coming in here to try and save Saul no matter what.
I think it's ironic. I think it speaks to what kind of guy he is. Yeah. And I'll tell you why. Why? Because if him and Saul had that much trouble, which we all saw they did last season, but he turns around and he realizes the higher priority is to save someone that he probably could care less about. It speaks to his character, which makes me lean on the side of the fence that I think, even though he's a hard line and can be a jerk sometimes, he's a good guy at heart.
Do you think it's really him, or do you think it's the president?
No, I think it's him.
I think it's him.
I think it's his position.
Why he has power trips and why he likes to flaunt it and why he likes to be a little bit of a
it'll be a publicity nightmare for them to be able to say, look,
well, it's the president's
we've executed the former director of the CIA.
But here's the thing.
That is a bad look for America, and it's a bad look for everybody if they allow something like that to happen.
I think it's a president's authority, but I also think he's personally passionate about not letting
But in that
happen.
scene, when he's talking to Redmond and he's talking to Peter, and he asked them what side they were on, and Redmond said he was going along with the boss, and Peter says, she wasn't in her capacity, I was against her. He said, like, oh, thank God, like in some kind of, but he said it in a sarcastic way, like, I don't know, almost like somebody
he
like,
didn't
I
say
can't.
Thank God.
No, he said something like Jesus Christ or something. I can't remember what it was.
No, I think he said something agreeing with Quinn for being against her.
I couldn't tell if it was. Well, I just thought it was really weird. It was like a two-sided thing.
It struck
like
me
if Saul died, I don't know if it would have been as much of a scandal as you guys think it was. I think he could have gone either way.
The reaction of what Peter said there and the way he reacted to what Peter said struck me as that he's glad that Peter overruled Carrie's decision for Saul not to get killed and nothing more.
Okay, I read into that like as I don't know. I read into that as a little ambiguous to me.
Did you notice though that what he originally thought Carrie's stance was different than what it actually was? He thought Carrie's stance was the opposite. And then when Peter said actually it was the opposite, sir, she took a hard line to shoot him, and that's when he said, "Well, thank God that didn't happen," or whatever he said there. We don't remember exactly. So he was basically agreeing with Quinn's stance on it. That good, we didn't shoot Saul.
Because I think it might have looked worse if it had come out in the press that Carrie, who's so high up over there in the head, I forgot what her position name is, but if she had given the order,
station chief,
if she had given the order to execute Haqqani with the former CIA director in his hold, I think that would have looked worse.
Nightmare.
Look, nobody knows that Saul Barrison has been taken prisoner yet, so I don't think bombing Haqqani and Saul together would have been public. So I don't know. We can complain about that.
Everybody would have died.
We could have
bombed him right there.
We can complain about that. I think it's a minor.
The story.
All right, I think it's a minor point, but I still think it's really interesting to see the way their relationship is. So. Yeah.
Dennis the Menace Boyd. I like how Lockhart did that delegation meeting. Told them pretty much.
I kind of liked it too.
Yeah.
Like I flexed and was like, "Look, I'm gonna be bold here." And
then at the end, he's like, "When are you gonna tell me?" And he was just like, he's like tweeting. He's like on Pinterest. He's like, "Telling you now."
He's like, right.
I kind of love that.
But he's the boss. Like he doesn't have to like report to her. I mean, professionally, you want to keep people in the loop on things, but at the same time, it's kind of like, really, do I need to come in like tell the ambassador? Obviously, a lot of these things are going under her watch or whatever. So. No, I'm going to come in here and just do what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
and basically drop the president hammer under the president's authority. So he doesn't really feel like he has to inform anybody about anything. And like he said, money does talk. They're not getting that $2 billion infusion into their economy for their infrastructure or whatever it is that he threatened them with. Then it's gonna probably be some kind of problem, but they're obviously dealing with it in.
I do think it was interesting.
They gotta do some covert things, as we're seeing, to keep, I don't know, whatever their agenda is underway. I mean, it's just, I don't know. Carrie is.
I do think it was interesting, though, that in that meeting, she seemed to be the only one who picked up on Tasneem just zoning out and being on her phone texting.
Zoning out or
not zoning out.
Well, no, zoning out of them. Like, she was texting. She wasn't.
She was detached. She was very detached.
Right, yeah.
I looked at it as more she was sneaking out information that was going on in the meeting.
Well, I think she was, but I think that Carrie was the only one who was paying attention to that.
Yeah.
Because she's an agent.
And observant.
And she pays attention to everything.
And that's what's always what we've always loved about Carrie, is because the details that seemingly are insignificant to everybody else, she pays attention to, and it turns out being like a little clue.
I think the ambassador is being a little hasty by, tendering her resignation.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
a
really?
little dramatic.
Right, it was a little dramatic. And I think
girls are dramatic.
It was almost like she got.
Just kidding.
It was almost like she got her
seriously.
feelings hurt a little bit, and she's like, I'm done here.
Right.
Me.
Seriously,
like the relationships that are going to be destroyed as a result of it. Took 4 years to build these relationships. Like, what do you guys have, tea and crumpets together? Like, what is this about?
What do you guys
This
do?
is
You
like
guys go play tennis on Tuesdays?
Right.
What's up?
Right. I don't get, like, he's here to take care of business. Lockhart is here to take care of business and work. You're talking about their relationships. I know you're under the guise of professionalism, but in actuality, it probably has a lot to do with she got comfortable there and she's cool. Everything is all gravy, and she has her position, and she's the good fight for women, being an ambassador, and blah blah blah. There's a lot of inferences there. I think, as far as her not being heard and listened to, or not being informed. She felt like she wasn't. If she was just just somebody else, like regular, it's like, look, okay, well, you weren't informed. This is what's going on. Now you know. And it's the higher ups. It's not like she had a subordinate come and tell her something. These are the higher ups. You had the director of the CIA, who came straight from stateside with an agenda from the president himself. Right. Why are you so butthurt about this? Where you have
that's
to
suspect. That's suspect too. I mean, we saw later on he didn't have the pull that he thought he had. He was just being Lockhart just coming in like a bull in a china shop and just saying, I know how to handle these foreigners. It's almost, you can almost see it. It's like
he is
like,
kind of brazen like that.
I can handle these foreigners. You know what? Money talks. Money always talks. He even says,
it does.
He just like. No, it doesn't
in a
talk
third
with them.
world country.
Not with them.
Then they don't need the $2 billion.
They were insulted. they were that whole side of the table. You could just see the disgust on their side of the table when he said that. Like, you really?
Yeah, but that's two-sided, because they're disgusted that they even need the $2 billion to begin with.
I think they were more disgusted.
That's really judgmental on that. They were just disgusted because it's an honor thing.
No, I think they were more disgusted that Lockhart was accusing them of working with the Taliban with Haqqani.
Yeah. And
I don't think it was so much the money, though.
See, here's
and like
but he
threatening
was
to pull
willing.
the money.
He's using the money as leverage.
He's using the money as leverage because of that. I mean, they were disgusted as it was, but the fact that Lockhart was willing to go so far to say, you know what, I'm so positive that you guys are in cahoots, that you guys know about this whole thing, that we're going to pull $2 million unless you act now.
And it's reasonable. And it's reasonable to think so. It is reasonable to think that.
Two things. One, that side of the table.
That's not reasonable.
Didn't see that card coming.
How is that not reasonable?
That's part of the reason they're disgusted. Because they didn't see that card coming. They didn't see him playing that, or any of them playing that at all. Two, that would change everything for them. And now that that's on the table, they weren't prepared to have an answer to deal with that. So they get up and walk out of the room. It was an unfair card, but it's a legit card to play.
Is.
And it's going to change their world. So they have to walk out because they have no idea what to do now.
Right.
I don't know. I just think obviously the ambassador felt, differently about that. And, and you see the ambassadors you see Lockhart just hanging back like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. And again,
because
like
he does know what he's doing, though. Threatening to pull out $2 billion of
changes the game. They have to listen,
or at least consider.
We're getting really political to that.
Plus the accusations that they are maybe working and there was some kind of cooperation going on, that's legitimate.
And I think it's actually true.
I think it's very possibly true.
Maybe not all of them, but I think that most of them are in the know that something has been up. I just lost my left ear.
So did I. We
all lost our left ear at the same time.
Back. Yes, we did.
You had some electricity going on in your fingers because as soon as you did like that,
something like that.
Yeah,
something going on with
the invisible button.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, it comes to fruition later when we see that Gates 40 to 53 were all disappear.
Mm-hmm.
They've been made to be erased from the security cameras.
What's the guy's name that she confronted about that she was going to meet, and she said that she was going to meet him in 30 minutes?
I don't know his name. He's the director.
I couldn't find it on IMDb.
Same
it's not
guy
on this
Saul
week's
met
episode,
with.
but he was the same one from episode 3, and I couldn't find him on IMDb for either one. But I'm sure someone will know and put on YouTube.
Yeah, somebody will tell
Also,
us.
though, when she confronted him in that alley after the meeting, did you notice that Tasneem was kind of lingering?
Yes. She was on her cell phone.
Yeah,
She was like she was on
but
a call.
probably
She's
a
like,
fake call.
Oh,
yeah.
What? What's he saying over there? I can't hear him quite all the way. That's what is he?
What?
Is that how girls
saying?
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Yeah, they're dramatic and
What?
they talk like that.
What is going on?
It sounded like Jimmy Fallon's ew.
Oh my god.
Okay, so obviously that was the scene where we really started seeing her lose her stuff. Like she started falling apart.
And he calls her.
Well,
yeah. He's like,
that's
"You
when her
okay?"
medicine is starting to
That's
wear
when
off.
her medicine
old
was wearing off. Yes.
Right. Well, we're starting to see the unraveling that
Well-
we later saw. That was the beginning of everything else. that we
Unraveling
saw.
in a sense that she needed her meds.
Right.
This is that was the trigger. She noticed she needed her meds, and that's what really. Yeah, I guess so. It's the catalyst of what happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
so,
that time.
It's the beginning of it.
So
Okay, fine. I think the beginning is when she takes the pills. You're saying the beginning is before she takes the pills, but I get it.
No,
it
the only
leads
point,
that road.
This is a moot point. The point he's
It
making
is.
is that that's the beginning of when we see.
I am on a
them-
different wavelength than all you
Yeah,
guys
you
say,
are.
apparently. I'm disagreeing
Yes,
with everything
he
you guys
is.
are saying.
To just we start to see the symptoms of what she's about to go through, what they want
Right.
us to see. They start in that scene.
Yes,
She
and
starts
then we
talking
see
fast.
more when they go to the airport to see the surveillance tapes. And
Well, that's when the
Wait, we are
hallucinogens.
missing
That
over
was
a-
funny
That's
to
when the
me.
hallucinogens start kicking in.
it
Guys,
was kind of funny.
We are
But-
missing over a key thing is when Carrie called Quinn and he was in her apartment and Dennis was in there
Yeah, Dennis the Menace.
right.
switching out the
Dennis
medicine.
Boyd. There's actually we have a listener named Dennis Boyd, and he has like the Boondocks icon.
The what icon?
The
What?
Boondocks
From Boondock Saints?
No, from Adult Swim. Boondocks. Aaron McGruder show.
Yeah.
That's the icon on his that's his avatar on YouTube.
His name's Dennis Boyd.
Very
Dennis
observant.
Boyd.
Where's he live?
Maybe he's.
I don't
also
know where he lives, but he's like he has
Yeah.
one. He's
Dennis,
like
call
is a-
in!
He always makes good points too.
We want to talk to you.
Yeah, he always makes good points, and it's just ironic that his name is Dennis Boyd.
Whether it's tonight or next week, Dennis, call us.
Or if you're in
424
LA, come in.
424-253-0504.
That goes for anybody.
Exactly.
Call in. Well, we'll screen you.
So she goes as far. I mean, obviously, there's 30 magical minutes missing off of this surveillance tape.
Yeah.
We see a little bit of Saul walking around the airport, but other than that,
You don't see footage of Farhad.
you don't see anything of Farhad. You don't see anything of the gate where Saul was supposed to leave from, and it just seems a little bit shady.
Yeah.
Right? How
does.
convenient is this?
Very shady.
Right.
And then, of course, it's gonna just add to whatever's going on with
Well,
her.
and then the worker at the computer corroborates the stories like sometimes the software fails. And the dude in
It
the back
crashes all the time.
is just trying to go eat his ham sandwich and apple juice, whatever he has, and she
Right.
like stop. I thought that was funny, actually, a lot funny, because
lot
imagine
funny.
this actually happening in real life. Someone yells at you, stop, you're like, "This is my lunch, you crazy lady," right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But that's the first time that I think that we start to see her senses are heightened.
yeah.
Well,
Yep.
And
Because
she
the
gets
guy was
dude,
the dude with
paranoid.
the tea.
And again, it's
or
all.
whatever.
I mean, look, we gotta give kudos to Claire Danes on the acting, because she, just to be able to play those parts even in levels like from that first scene with,
She should win an Emmy for that.
Well, this would be probably the kind of episode she probably would send in for an Emmy nomination. But yeah, just her going back into that realm, and I mean, just ahead of time, kudos to everybody, even like the direction,
The editing was
the
amazing.
editing, the camera shaking, and all
That,
the
I've never
all
seen
that
Homeland
awesome.
do that.
Never
When they
seen-
did that shaking thing, when she
And they
sat in
slowed
the
it
bed
down
and
a
slowed
little.
it down.
That's where she's at.
That was
That's where she's
really
at.
awesome. It was
Actually,
very
I want to do some
psychotic.
research to see if they brought somebody else in to direct this episode. Just as like the flavor was so different for
Yeah.
it,
It's possible.
because I didn't pay attention to that, and I want to know.
She was
Look
reduxing
it up.
She was reduxing.
Reduxing.
I think it was more than a redux because it was definitely more intense than anything we've seen before. But you know what? In those first scenes, it really felt familiar, like from past seasons. This was the Carrie that no one was believing. Everyone thought was crazy because she believed certain things and she was getting proven wrong, or people were doubting her.
I want to ask you guys a question. Here's what I don't get. When they show her riding in the car with Quinn, and they cut to, and the camera's on her side, and she's like this, and Quinn's driving, and he asks if she's asleep. Quinn knows Carrie better than anybody in that station, correct? Mm-hmm. You guys have an agreement in that?
Of course.
Quinn knows her, and Quinn calls her out on her BS. That's why I like their relationship, because he doesn't let her slide with stuff where she can usually talk her way in and around. Mm-hmm. All that to say, how is Quinn not caught onto the fact that she is just slipping majorly? I mean, she calls this guy out to open his briefcase, which is totally off the just.
I think he noticed it at
that. But why didn't they show us a scene where he calls her out? I was like, Carrie, what in the world is wrong with you? Like, we need to get you more medicine, like your pills. Like, he's aware.
Yeah.
I don't think he knows about the pill. Well, I don't know how much he knows about the pills.
Well, maybe not necessarily about the pills, but he's going to be the first out of everybody to notice that she is way off her rocker.
I think they just think that she's really overwhelmed because when they told her to take those 10 minutes when she was in the
Have a minute? Yeah, take 10. Take
whatever you need.
Take the time off, right.
I think they might all just think that she's overly reacting and very sensitive.
She is a girl, you know?
So emotional.
Just kidding.
And just to answer your question from before, the name of the director for this episode is Carl Franklin.
And how many is he?
And this
Carl
Franklin. This is his second episode of Homeland he's directed. The first one was Journalism on 2013. Yeah, he's done Newsroom. He's done a lot of House of Cards from
Skies.
Yeah,
he's dope. Yeah.
He's done quite a bit, and he's an actor too. He's got a pretty big resume.
Carl Franklin.
Cool. I like it. See,
he
I
was
like
Dr. Willoughby in Alf.
Mm-hmm.
In the Christmas special.
That's plenty.
Yeah, there you go. And he was on the A-Team, Captain Crane.
There we go. That's a lot.
There we go. Couple episodes. So,
back in the 80s.
Yeah.
So let's not to jump, but on the flip side, we've got Saul hanging out with Hakani. Hakani enjoying being out.
Mm-hmm.
This was so interesting.
In the
it
sunlight.
was interesting.
They're driving in the mountains on the way back home for his homecoming, and just the reflection. I guess he feels like he has a shield, so to speak.
He does.
Well, I guess he realized that, okay, I know they're watching now, so if they're not blow us away now, then that means he is valuable. Mm-hmm. So Saul keeps saying, "You're not gonna get anything from me. I'm not that valuable."
Well,
it's like, dude, Saul, it's almost an insult to Hakani to keep saying this over and over again. Like, dude, shut up. He knows, obviously, that you guys
well,
are
I mean,
both...
the proof is that Connie's not dead. That's what he's trying to say.
Exactly.
The proof is he can feel the air. I mean, it was really cool first scene. Like, every little kid knows that experience, being in a car and having your hand out there.
I did that today.
Yeah, I did that when I drive down the road.
Like this?
Santa Monica.
Is that why Santa Monica Boulevard was backed up? Because there's some guy I saw. No, I'm just kidding. Slowing down doing that.
Nando, I like to wave my hand in the air. I'm sorry.
Like, you just don't
Occasionally
care.
I stop
Like,
and
I just don't care.
You guys are on the cornball boat tonight, I swear. Anyway, so yes, he talks about how he has all his kids and his wife he hasn't seen in 3 years.
Anybody count how many kids he has?
He had a ton of kids.
7 or 8.
A lot.
Good God, there's a lot of kids.
Had-
and they were close together.
But that's
too.
normal for the
especially as a
culture.
little
Kids.
That's normal for the culture.
Well, it's not.
Yeah.
Well,
What the hell?
is it
9
normal
kids in 10 years?
from one woman?
Well, no, because well, we don't know if that's his only wife, though.
No, he did say he has a wife. He has one. He has a
he
wife.
said one wife?
He said he has
Said he
a
had a-
wife that he hasn't seen in 3 years.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not completely
It's not
obvious.
He didn't say I haven't seen my
We've
wives in 3 years. He said I haven't seen my wife.
It's
in
not
3
like he's
years.
divorced or whatever. I'm sure it's one. He had more kids than there were more kids in that family than in the Too Many Cooks video. No one saw that? Okay, never mind. That went over people's.
See, that's what I'm talking about.
Google Too Many Cooks. Google it. People out there know what it is. Okay, go ahead. It's an awesome video.
I believe you. I really want to
All
believe
right.
you.
It's very topical.
Okay, so
But not to this
Hakani.
show. So never mind.
Hakani.
We're off the rails.
Hakani's driving through the city. I'm gonna need another one of these. Hakani's driving through the city, and you feel like the New York Yankees won the World Series as flowers, and they're chanting the arrow of God in Pashto or whatever the language is.
So many flower petals.
There was a
So
bunch of
many.
them.
They were just
right?
like I was watching personally
Like
the
a strip
people
club.
up on the balcony. Yeah, they were just
It was like Mardi Gras.
they were making it rain.
without the breasts.
Well, we don't know that.
We do know that.
We do know
it's
that.
Pakistan. We know
right.
that.
We know there's no
No, but
breasts.
no
it's
breasts.
the same thing concept.
How do you know there's no
breasts
breasts in Pakistan?
Well, we
not
don't
showing
see
in
that
public.
showing breasts.
Exactly. They're not showing it, but you don't know that they weren't there.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, so they end up back at this compound.
Drink it up. Drink it up.
They end up back at this compound, right, where Haqqani gets to see all his kids, gets to see his wife, and
Every time you drink your tea.
what seems to be the
Not tea.
oldest kid, I guess he's like a teenager or something like that, throws his sandal.
Yeah.
That was so interesting.
I thought it was a brick at first.
It's reminiscent
I did too.
to. It's reminiscent. Remember that story in the news? It was a long time ago. I think it was with
when
Bush.
With
It
Bush,
was.
yeah.
It
Yeah,
was.
when somebody threw a shoe at
That's
Bush.
like a real big insult in that
Bush-like.
culture, apparently.
Yeah.
When someone
Yeah,
throws
but
a
it was
shoe.
interesting that Haqqani made him apologize to Saul.
You know what's interesting to me is you notice a pattern with Haqqani. So when Ayan was shot, and they showed this scene from the drone. And
No, he shot Ayan.
yeah, but I'm saying when he was shot, that
Right,
scene is what I'm
right.
referring to. When they pull Saul out of the car, he's like this. They took his glasses off, and he looked like he was struggling like this. Fast forward to now, he's sitting in the back seat next to Haqqani, like they're friends.
Yeah, he gets to
Equals.
see live
With his
porn and
glasses
everything.
on.
Not just that.
With his glasses on, but like what I'm saying is that's when I first noticed that it changed. And then when he had him apologize, we noticed this real side that made Haqqani really real. And I think that's what changed Saul's basically angle that he took at him. He felt like he could start to confront him about what he believes, confront him about the religion, about why the U.S. was even in that area in the first place, and calling him out. Comfortable enough now to call him out in front of all of his family
At
and friends
dinner.
with
That was-
guns
Well,
at
they,
dinner.
they don't
Yeah.
speak English either.
In there, but still, that you can
At least
tell
you
the
don't think they
tension.
speak
I
English.
think-
You can
Yeah.
still tell the tension of the
Yeah.
moment.
I think what it is actually, I think Haqqani really, well, first of all, Haqqani respects Saul. He knows that Saul is valuable because he's keeping him alive and he's giving them this luxury that he
Yeah.
gets to travel around.
And
But
see
he
his
also
kids for the
respects his
first time.
intelligence, and I think
Right.
3 years.
and he sees his kids. But he noticed that when they're sitting at the table, Saul is sitting at the right side, at his right hand side, like right next to him. He's not like a prisoner of war sitting in a cell or
what I'm
even
saying.
another table. So they have this. It's like
Do you
dinner
think he
talk,
might
but it's
try to
very
flip him?
casual. No, he's not going to flip him, but it's
I said,
very.
do you think he's gonna try?
Well, I was going
No.
to say that maybe this is.
Yeah.
Sorry, Nando.
Go
you
ahead.
saying that made me think that.
Well, yeah, and then
Got it.
I was going to say that maybe that was what happened with Brody, that they treated him this way, and then maybe Brody was weaker than
shoot.
Saul.
No, I don't see that. I don't think Brody was treated the same way. But I think what it is just there's somebody of his mutual intelligence, and just the conversation they were having at that dinner table was really, really fascinating.
Stimulating.
At that one point, when Saul kind of went a little bit over the line with Haqqani, but he pretty much told. I mean, there were some awesome lines there about you shot your nephew and you pretty much sent his family to die in an airstrike, and
Right.
then we have to rewind that line that Haqqani says about if Christians were judged.
He says,
no one
if
ever was.
Christianity
Don't mix it.
is to be judged by the misery it has caused mankind, who would ever be a Christian?
I'm a Jew.
I'm a Jew. I
I'm
love
not.
that.
I was quoting Saul.
I love that. But I just thought that whole thing was
I
just
was like, he got
amazing.
balls saying that.
Just having Saul at the right hand table, having Saul in the room when he's having sex with his wife. I
What
mean,
was that about? What
That
do you think
was
the point of
weird.
that is?
I think it
Some
was just to
kinky
keep the human.
fetish.
I think it was two things. I think it was to keep the human shield aspect, to keep him nearby. But I think also, and we might see this. Saul might want to kill himself or so. I was thinking that he wants to keep Saul close and know
He's
what
got
Saul's
enough
doing at all
men.
times.
He's got enough men to keep him in another room
There's
close
an-
by.
Yeah.
There's an element
But,
of it.
it's just
that-
really strange that we have him in the room. He hasn't seen his wife for 3 years.
Yeah.
He keeps Saul tied to a pipe in his room right there where he can like enjoy the whole thing.
Here's an- I don't know if it's that.
it was,
Maybe
like,
to
strange.
remind him that he is still his prisoner.
Yep. And this is why I completely agree. I think there's an element of crazy that it takes for someone to do that. And usually villains have just enough of an element that they'll do things that you wouldn't suspect, that you wouldn't think, and they do it. And it just is weird enough that it makes you a little timid around it. It makes you scared of them, afraid of them. It's a mighty fear.
Well, one thing I like about the writing is that they always have a great way of posing the opposition's viewpoints in the writing, like he did at the dinner table. So it's like how they may be viewed from an American standpoint, they view Americans from their standpoint the same kind of way, which is gives you like makes you look at things from a different perspective, so to speak, just because you're like, well, what has gone on and happened in the past, and they're living, while we're living it up, living a good westernized life. A lot of their life is in their culture surrounded by the impositions that we have impositions that have been imposed, or the things that have been imposed on their culture. I'm just saying.
Yeah, no.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's different for us because we're living it up over here.
I think what I like so much about this scene, watching it from an American point of view, is that we don't usually see the other side.
Right.
And now, even though this is completely fictional, we're seeing, the leader of a terrorist organization and him interacting with his kids, and that's something that you never see in the media,
Right.
or you never see in general because it's there's just no access to that. And this
Like
may
when he
be
talked
fake,
about the
but I
World
thought it
Trade
was still
Center and all
interesting.
that, it was like, no, we didn't do that. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, that was Al Qaeda.
Right.
And then I thought it was really interesting how he said there were 15 Saudis, and I don't see you invading Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, that was kind of a.
It was.
Yeah, it was like a gut check. Like, yeah, you guys aren't doing because there's interest over there. So of course we're not gonna go and.
Yeah.
Our
on the
oils
other
are
side.
there.
Right. So it's like, well, what's convenient for us is what we do. If we have interests over here, even though the ethical thing to do would be to still go over there, then we're not going to do that if it's kind of, jeopardizing our economic interests. So it's kind of like, well, we got interests over here that affect us economically. So, this is nearby. Let's just go over there. Kind of thing.
I don't know the politics of it that much. I just.
It is. It's kind of
I know,
obvious
but without getting into the
America
overly,
operates.
politics of the story, I think it was just point counterpoint. Really, it was just like, I don't see you harassing other people. I see, it was just, I don't know. I just took it in a different level than politically. We can go into the politics of it. I'm definitely not gonna speak on it because I'm very underversed in that. So, but I definitely loved the banter between the two of them. And again, I think plot-wise, it was just a really, really cool scene to see the two of them having this very intellectual, political conversation, very civilized. I mean, you don't even see that kind of civilized talk on Fox News, or CNN or anything. Yeah, but I'm saying you don't even see that kind of
Really,
or Bill Maher,
news outlet.
any news outlet.
Fox
And
News
these are two
civilized,
people on completely opposite ends. Number 4 most wanted on the terrorists, and the
Sports.
former head of CIA. Talking against each other and just having this very civilized conversation.
Yeah.
So that's what I took it as.
It was kind of funny how they ended the conversation with "I'm a Jew," because that could have kept
that's a
going,
great
kept
punchline.
going, kept going.
Yeah.
But it was a great punchline to end. Cut off.
I was joking, but okay.
No, it was funny. It was funny how it's perfect in perfect Saul fashion.
Yeah.
Okay, so where do we go from here? Where are we at? Carrie
starts her true psychotic break.
Yes, and where was she when she was going through the streets and then she was thrown up and
Why did she
had
go
just
to
She
left-
was
yeah.
she was trying to find the nurse.
Oh yeah, it was time
She
to go find
discovered the nurse.
His friend. His
that's
friend. His
right.
girlfriend.
She went to the hospital.
Well,
she
Kieran-
found Kieran,
And then-
and then Quinn. It came out of nowhere.
That so is not Quinn.
No, it wasn't.
No,
Quinn.
it wasn't
It definitely
Quinn.
wasn't Quinn because there's no way Quinn would get his ass beat with a
And
a
we see
stovetop
later
and a
that
back
she's
headbutt. Right.
imagining.
Right, she's hallucinating or whatever.
Sadly.
So you're like, oh gosh, and she's lost in when she's walking through the street without a head wrap. She's just, she's just unraveling completely. She has these dark circles under her eyes. Her hair's everywhere.
She bumps into Fat Joe.
Right.
And I just love that scene when she thought she was being followed, which she was. And she, it looked like she actually had a gun in her back pocket.
Right.
And she whipped it out and thought she shot those two
The
people.
editing
We
of
did
that
too.
whole scene was brilliant.
Yeah, it was
Amazing.
great
Brilliant.
editing. It was great. It was a great scene. How,
Even down to the fly and the drips of water when she was in the prison cell. Like, it was just, I felt it.
Yeah, well,
And
you
the
can actually
bee
see
that
the
was, like,
heightened
dying.
senses. The heightened senses with her hearing every little thing and noticing every little thing.
The paranoia was next level.
Yeah, it was definitely some LSD, PCP type.
I don't know anything about
Whatever.
that.
I just heard. I've seen a lot of movies. So, yeah. So they take her to this plush home.
Yeah.
They strip her of the straitjacket.
So do you think she really went to a plush home then? I didn't even think about this. Is that a hallucination? Did she go to like another rundown facility?
No.
It was a plush
It was
home.
a plush home. Yeah, it was a plush home.
Because in the
Because
we saw
previews,
The final shot.
The final
She's
shot
the
was-
guy. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
So that was probably his house.
Yeah.
So the guy
Well,
who we don't know,
Yeah.
this military
director.
hire, yeah, We don't know his name yet.
General
Still.
person.
Well, if it's not apparent, it's not. We couldn't spot it. But yeah.
But let's talk about this for a second. Why? I haven't thought through this. Why do you think she's being taken there to this guy's house?
I think that he is on the good side of the ISI.
I kind of think so too.
Because I think that because in the previews for next week, this is jumping ahead.
Well, this might be a little spoiler for anyone. Go
but
ahead.
You see, she somehow got back to the embassy.
Okay.
Which, how would she get back if she was in?
Yep, she was in
the hands
custody.
of someone who was against the U.S. She would have had to be extracted from that prison cell by someone who was on our side to get back.
So maybe is he ISI? He's ISI. Right?
I think he's the leader. He's
ISI.
the director of ISI.
Okay,
is kind of what I think.
Okay, so this ISI leader with the British accent is maybe a good guy, like we think, and maybe he's gonna collaborate with her. Maybe he has some suspicions about some other operations going on that he knows nothing about and wants to get information from her about what she knows. So that way he can collaborate with her and do some investigating since he's already on that side.
On the flip side, he can feed her correct information that she can take to Lockhart and to just the rest of the people on that side, on the United States side, to maybe foster some actual negotiations.
And I think just thinking about it a little bit more now, I think that the reason Tasneem was lingering when she confronted the general the first time is maybe because they're on opposite sides of the ISI. And so, because if she was on the same side as him, she could have just figured out what the conversation was about later. Mm-hmm. But if they're on different sides and he knows that, then he's not going to tell her what happened. So she was trying to linger and eavesdrop.
Right.
Guys, before we go, I just feel like we're burying the lead here. We've been burying it for the last 40 minutes.
Go.
We see Brody. That's huge. I mean, it's fake, but it fooled a lot of people for at least a split second.
Well, we all freaked
huge.
out.
Yeah. That was, I mean, I feel like, we're just kind of, I just feel like we're skipping. This is going to be the story people are going to talk about. Like, Damian Lewis returns to Homeland for 2 seconds and fools people. I think it was beautiful and brilliant. I think we saw...
I yelled an inappropriate word and got goosebumps
I believe you did.
90 seconds.
I mean,
lost my mind.
We saw the possibility, because when we thought we saw that Peter in the hospital, and we were kind of like, I don't think that's Peter. It showed the possibility of her imagining other people.
Right.
So I think it was huge. And also just the conversation she's having with Brody, because this is a woman who, don't forget, she just saw, Ayan get killed.
Yeah.
And she pretty much sent him to die. Yeah. And she felt she sent Brody to die.
But I kind of disagree that that's the lead. I think the focus of this whole episode was her breakdown. And I think that was part of her breakdown and part of the proof that she was completely losing her mind on these drugs. I think that, tomorrow they're going to be like, yeah, Damian Lewis guest starred and made an appearance, but I don't think that that's the entire lead of this episode.
Agreed. And if you've looked and followed online, there has been people wondering, like when they were first talking about before the season aired, what's going to be the storyline? What are they going to do to keep readers or watchers, viewers interested? Are they going to bring back Damian Lewis? Did he really die? That shuts down that conversation forever.
Well, no, he's definitely dead. We know
kind
of knew that,
but
even though it surprised the hell out of us.
But what I'm saying is, people question this before the season started.
But here's what I'm trying to say.
And
at least with the whole Damian Lewis thing, it's just with Brody. with the whole Brody thing is that we've seen the comparisons between Ayan and Brody, and here she is at her lowest moment right now, and she imagines Brody, and she has this conversation. It's almost like a way for her to have closure with Brody in a way. I mean, her big line was, "I was willing to let you die," and she actually was about to do that with Saul. If she actually went through with her orders last week, that's how bad she's been getting. It's almost like no life's important to her.
She's gonna have.
She's a machine. She's a CIA operating machine.
She's still human. She's gonna have those kind of dreams and nightmares.
So
for the rest
that
of her
scene
life.
was critical. I really think that scene was an incredibly critical scene overall. And plus the fact that I think it was a nice little shocker to the audience that we see Damian Lewis back. But I think that was a really critical scene overall. And then of course the punchline is she's actually in the arms. She's in a fetal position. It was weird when Brody was kind of touching her butt, and I even said, there's either nobody there or it's somebody really freaky or something, but it ended up being the ISI guy.
I wonder if she's going to say anything interesting, because she just started rambling and saying things to Brody, and it was like she was saying things, he was like listening to her when it turned out to be the ISI guy, right?
That's why I
So I'm like, is she going to start saying some things that she's not supposed to say? because she thinks it's Brody and he's gonna like
I wondered about that too.
Well, but
gonna pick up on some confidential information.
I think if he's actually on the good side, though, then he's going to get her medication back on track, because that was Tasneem who switched the medicine. So,
But I don't think he knows that Tasneem switched to medicine.
Maybe he does. We don't know until next week.
yeah.
Maybe he does know. Maybe he's suspects some things, but trusting the enemy as opposed to trusting the enemy on your side is, it's like you're fighting two different battles. Mm-hmm. It's a bit of a difficult one for a guy in his position, especially if he's on the up and up.
Right.
And they might have information on how they're using Boyd as well. So, I don't know. I guess that kind of takes us almost to predictions. We kind of covered everything for this episode, right?
Yeah.
Except for the fact about the ambassador wanting to quit and Boyd. That's
We
a
talked about
little
that.
bit. Yeah, that's enough.
Okay, so what do you guys think is going to happen, like, for next week? Hoyt.
I'm not sure if I have a solid prediction. I think I would just be grasping for something that I kind of want to happen. I'm not sure. I think that I do think that guy is good. I can't remember his name. It's gonna drive me crazy, but I do think that he is good. I think that they're gonna feed each other on a sub-level information that's gonna help get to a place where we can get Saul out. We can maybe resolve this. We can get Akani taken care of. So I think that he's going to be instrumental in that. I think that's why she gets back to the embassy.
Okay.
I agree. I think he's on the good side of the ISI, and I think that is what helps her get it back. And I also think that he has some reason, or I think he helps figure out that it was her medicine that got screwed up, because she was in her right mind in the previews for next week.
Right.
So somehow she got the medication back on track, and I think that he probably had a large part in helping out with that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm not, to be honest, I don't think I have a prediction this week. I'm cool.
No?
Yeah, I'm not, I can't think of anything right now, so I'm gonna be prediction light. Yeah.
Predictionless.
Mm-hmm. Predictionless.
You know what? I might have to join you on that train too, because it's like right at the point where we're about to pivot into them breaking where it's really about to go.
Yep.
So I think kind of some of the ideas that we had, they were good ideas or good theories, but we weren't quite hitting the nail on the head yet. So I'm going to reserve my predictions as well. But I do predict we'll be back here next week. So hopefully we'll see you guys tuning in and maybe calling. Anyway, where can we find you guys till next time?
Lexie?
You can find me on all social media at Lexie Hammesfahr.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Danny Hoyt. And I just want to call attention to this real quick. If you saw this on social media, my friend Hank and them at adopttogether.org, you put a smiley face on your hand, post a picture of it to help end the world with orphans. Help there be no more orphans. I think it's a really cool thing. And today is the first ever World Adoption Day. I think it's a huge deal. Big shout out to Hank Fortner, a good friend of mine who spearheaded this.
Nice.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Nando Vel and NandoVel.
And you can find me on all social media at Club Thaddeus. Until next time, after Buzzers, peace.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
Buzz.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.